Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is doing well. Got a couple of stories that I want to share with y'all, and they are about reparations and what is going on in the continent of Africa where we are concerned. There are a few nations in the Sahel region that are standing up to colonialism and kicking out France, America, um, doing things on their own terms that are beneficial for the people and not necessarily um, selling out the people like most of the people who work with the colonizers do. They don't do anything that's for us. They do things that are beneficial for themselves and their family and their family's generational wealth. They usually put us in a far worse position than we were in before they even got involved. And so we're seeing this awakening, not just here with us and those of us who are in captivity in the places we are scattered, but also on the continent where this is just my 2 cents, that the continent is preparing the way for us to return in whatever capacity the Most High, uh, needs things to be done so that when we do get there, when we are there, it's a place of rest. There are no um, colonizers, people to harass us or torment us. And, you read the word, it talks about us going to the wilderness. We're going to get, rest. We're going to be restored. We're going to get a new heart. We're going to learn the ways and laws, the statutes, and commandments of the Most High so that we will never forget them. And we're also able to teach the rest of the world on those ways. But we're going back to our land. And so when you see the things that are happening, it's just really interesting to see everything happening so fast all at one time. But there's a push or a lot of discussion about reparations. And from the Caribbean, CARICOM, from the continent, here, even in the United States. Although, for us, it's like beating our head up against a wall. But at least with Europe, you're starting to see the little cracks. People are, the nations are having to reckon with what they've done. They also understand that their curses are reversing and their judgment is here. So some nations will repent and do recompense because they want to not receive such a harsh judgment from the Most High, which He has the authority to give grace and mercy to whichever nations He feels should have it. But some nations are not going to repent. Some nations are going to hold us, and they're going to be just like Pharaoh was in Egypt. They're going to let us go. They're going to come and chase us. Uh, they're going to be punished and punished and punished and punished, and then nothing. They're not going to change. They're just going to continue to do what they do until they are completely wiped off the planet. And that's what the word says is going to happen. But in the meantime, Israel and nations that are attempting to get us back home, for we don't know what the reasons are, but the people are trying to get us back home to where we came from. There's a discussion of reparations, and so there are a couple of stories that I want to share with you about the reparations. Excuse the noise in the background because my heat is running. It's cold here. It's like 30 something degrees, so it's very cold. Okay, so this first story that I'm going to share with you is from the Lusaka Times, And I'm not sure where this is from. It's an African um, paper, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to read it to you. This article that I found, it was dated February 18th, 2025. And I'm trying to get rid of this pop-up ad. It's so annoying. Oh gosh, it's so annoying. Okay, so it says Mwamba challenges the UK conservative leader Badenoch at ARC conference. So apparently, this person, Kimmy Badenoch, the new leader of the Conservative Party, is a raccoon, but she's a European raccoon of, I think, Kenyan or Nigerian descent. But anyway, she's not a friend of nobody, apparently. But she's putting up opposition to the African Union, attempting to address the UK about reparations and about what they've done to the continent. And they've put her out there. I'm not gonna say they put her out there, but as the leader of the party, she's responsible for speaking to the call for reparations and what's been done to people of African descent when it comes to slavery. So it's kind of just like they do here. Like I told y'all, they were going to do as Babylon falls. They were going to stick black people everywhere they can to be the face of the fall. So they've done what they've used black people up, and now they're ready for the transition. So now they got their next crop of uh, um, brown people and mostly white people to assume the reins. They're going to run off the rest of the blacks that they don't want, and it'll be completely lily white again. So I'm assuming this is why this young lady has this position over there in UK for the Conservative Party. But they gonna learn. She gonna learn too. They always break their tools. She ain't gonna be no different. It's same folks, same strokes. So anyway, let's get into these stories. So this was from London, Tuesday, the 18th of February, 2025. So it says the Second Alliance for Responsible Citizenship Conference has drawn global thought leaders to London's Excel Center, where discussions on Western civilization, justice, and governance have taken center stage. Among the most heated exchanges was between former Zambian ambassador to Ethiopia and the African Union, Emmanuel Mwamba, and UK Conservative leader Kimi Badenoch. Sound like a European name. She might have a white husband. Over the issue of reparations and immigration. Speaking at the conference, Badenoch declared that Western civilization was facing a crisis of confidence, but insisted that Britain had nothing to apologize for. She dismissed calls for reparations, stating emphatically, now this is the sister, the African lady. She said, our country is not racist. We don't need to apologize. We don't need to pay reparations or give away the Chagos Islands. End quote. In response, Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba strongly disagreed with Badenoch's stance, arguing that the issue of reparations is not about apology but justice. He pointed out that the African Union has declared 2025 as, listen to this, the, quote, year of justice for Africans and people of African descent through reparations, end quote, underlining the continent's commitment to addressing the historical injustices of slavery and colonization. Quote, the West cannot dismiss the call for reparations as if it were a trivial matter, end quote, Mwamba asserted. Quote, this is about righting historical wrongs that have shaped global inequalities. The African Union has dedicated 2025 to achieving restorative and reparatory justice for the crimes of slavery and colonization. We will not remain silent, end quote. So this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the African continent is calling on the West to pay reparations. Now, y'all know who we dealing with. So anyway, so it says Mwamba also questioned Badenoch's hardline position on immigration, highlighting her own Nigerian heritage. He expressed disappointment that she failed to acknowledge the struggles of immigrants in Western societies. Quote, I expected Miss Kimmy Badenoch to be sympathetic to immigrants, especially given her own Nigerian background, quote, end quote, Mwamba stated. Quote, many people from Africa and other regions migrate to the West seeking opportunity, often as a direct consequence of historical injustices. To dismiss their plight so casually is unfortunate, end quote. The art conference, which has attracted over 4,000 delegates, is a platform for shaping a new vision for civilization. The debates between key figures like Mwamba and Badenoch highlight the ideological divides on issues of history, justice, and governance. As the discussions continue, it remains to be seen whether the calls for reparatory justice, which is reparations, will gain momentum on a global stage. We shall see. Um, so the rest of the article is talking about the lady who he was going back and forth with. I don't want to go back. I don't really want to read that part because to me that's not significant. Um, but it just highlights just how most immigrants who leave the continent and come to a white nation how they do. So it's nothing extravagant about her story. It just is a typical story. But I will include the link in the description if you'd like to read about the lady that was arguing with the um, gentleman from Africa who was talking about uh, reparations and justice for the diaspora. Okay, so the next story is about um, David Lammy. The flirtation with reparations could backfire. So the foreign secretary doesn't realize how complicated a mess reparations is. So whoever wrote this, I don't know what their slant is, but the name of this magazine is Express. It's a European, United Kingdom magazine, and so that should say all you need to know. So it says Foreign Secretary David Lammy is reportedly preparing to engage in discussions with Caribbean nations regarding reparations for Britain's historical involvement in the transatlantic slave trade. So now, this article was published on February the 12th, 2025. So you see how there's this theme with reparations. Something is going on. There's some whisperings happening. They got the message. They understand what time it is in the big scheme of things. Something is going on because all these topics are being entertained at the same time. So I don't think it's by accident. And it's when it comes to the big scheme of things, y'all need to be paying attention to what's going on because I know that these snow possums, children of the corn, whatever you want to call them, the evil ones who have hidden who we are, who change times and laws and seasons and everything, they know what time it is. So I don't think any of this is by accident. So it says, but the notion of Britain. Oh, I'm sorry, let me go back. So the initiative includes a planned meeting with the Reparations Commission of the Caribbean Community, which is CARICOM, a coalition of 15 member states. But the notion of Britain paying reparations for slavery is not only impractical, but also deeply misguided. This is why they're going to be judged so harshly. David Lammy's willingness to entertain the idea overlooks key historical facts, practical challenges, and the wider consequences of setting such a precedent. I don't know what I missed something. I must have missed something. I don't see nothing to miss. Oh, that's okay. While Britain undoubtedly played a role in the transatlantic slave trade, it also led the charge to abolish slavery and eradicate it across the world. So they don't want to take responsibility for the slave trade. They just want to get credit for ending it and what happened afterwards. It's not like we free. It ain't like, we everybody was equal. People still not equal. People still, there's still in equality. There's still a racial divide by the color of our skin. It's just like I just don't understand those people. But anyway, it also led to the charge to abolish slavery and eradicate it across the world. Rather than burdening contemporary taxpayers with the sins of the past, we should focus on addressing present day inequalities through meaningful policies. So they don't never want to give black people no money. They just want to give you a policy, give you some free housing, give you some food stamps, give you a bus pass, let you ride on the bus unlimited times, give you a free education, things that everybody else going to benefit from anyway. It's not just specific to your people. That's what white supremacy does. So they always have a way of framing stuff and making stuff about everybody. And then they never want their people today to pay for the sins of their ancestors. Although the whole reason we're in captivity is because of the sins of our ancestors. So it's like, it's crazy that they would even say that because they know the truth. But when we understand the truth, and then when they say stuff like, you know, they don't think contemporary or taxpayers today should pay for the sins of the past. That's just like, that's saying, like us, we shouldn't have to pay for the sins of our ancestors. But that's not what the word of the Most High says. It says everybody's going to pay for the sins of their ancestors to the third or fourth generation. So I don't know why they think they ain't supposed to pay. But that's left up to the Most High. He is going to judge them for not wanting to pay reparations. So they can fight it all they want to. They going to pay. We ain't got to make them do nothing. We don't even have to keep asking them about it because it is written, it will be done. Unlike many nations that engaged in slavery, Britain did more than simply end the practice. It actively fought against it. So this this is an opinion, but you see, how it is. It's making the UK to be some type of hero. The abolishment movement, spearheaded by Quakers in the 1780s, led to the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833, which liberated countless individuals. More significantly, Britain expended vast sums of money and resources to suppress the global slave trade, deploying the Royal Navy to intercept slave ships and pressuring other nations to follow suit. To ignore this contribution is to distort history. But even if we were to accept the notion of reparations, determining an appropriate amount is fraught with complexities. Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley has claimed that Britain owes her country 3.9 trillion, while a 2023 report estimated the total owed to former Caribbean colonies at 18 trillion. These figures are not only unrealistic but raise fundamental questions. Who would be compensated? How would eligibility be determined? It's not like they don't have records. They got better records than America. America probably got records. They just won't tell us. But the UK, they got records. I done looked at their slave uh, records of slaves being transported in the transatlantic slave trade. They have very meticulous records, so it's not that difficult to trace people. And the other thing about the slave records is like merchant records because they transported people like merchandise. So you have to look at merchant ships that were transporting merchandise. So it's not like they have slave ships and it's merchants, and sometimes it was the navy, it was the military transporting people from one continent to the next. And that's the surprising thing when you start going through the records. You start seeing, hey, wait a minute, this is a navy ship. Hey, wait a minute, this is a military boat. So it's wild, all the transporting that ended up taking place during the slave trade. But it happened, and you can't deny it. What's interesting is they don't want to take anything from anyone to pay the debt. They want everybody to be made whole and us to be left without and say, oh, let's forget about it and give y'all some policies. No, this is why you can't even deal with these folks. You cannot deal with them. You cannot get them to be fair. They're just not going to do right. And so this is why the Most High is going to have to come back and judge the world, because these people are not going to get up off of their wealth. And so that's why I'm over talking about it. I'm over asking them. I'm just believing the Most High going to do what he said he was going to do, and I ain't going to worry about it, because you can't argue. You can't argue with these people. You will have a coronary heart attack fooling up with them. Um, And who would pay? The passage of time makes it nearly impossible to establish a fair and just framework for distributing reparations. They could do it if they wanted to. Beyond financial impracticalities, reparations could have serious political ramifications. Some former colonies might view payments as an admission of guilt. What difference do it make? They did it, potentially fueling resentment rather than reconciliation. It don't matter if you pay us or not, we still gonna resent your asses. You're hard headed, you won't change, you don't like to admit you're wrong, you don't like to pay for your mistakes, you treated breakers, you steal land, you steal people, you steal ideals, you steal intellectual property, you just can't even finish all the stuff that they done. So there's always going to be resentment because there's never any change. There's never any true acknowledgement, and there's never any uh, justice. Like, you can't get justice from them. So yes, there's always going to be resentment until that changes, and it's not going to change, which is why the Most High said he going to destroy Edom, that all of them got to go except for the ones that cleave unto us. So you're not going to have to worry about getting no reparations. You're going to get all they done stole, because they going to be gone. This unrepentant, how we going to do it, ain't our fault. Don't worry about that, because the Most High already said they're going to pay us. We don't have to worry about it. And we're not going to have to worry about it getting it from them, because they ain't going to even be here. That's how you have to think about it. You're gonna have the whole planet to rule over, and we're gonna rule just, and we're gonna rule fair, and the only people that's gonna make it to the wilderness or through the wilderness to the other side are people who have those hearts, who have those minds, and who are practicing that way of life now. So that's why it's very important for you to not get caught up in these discussions about reparations, to not be mad, not let them get you emotional, because the Most High done already told you he's going to destroy them. They're not going to have nothing because they're not going to be here. The only ones that's going to be here are the ones that are genuinely repentant, who will cleave to us, who are not trying to rule over us, who understand their role in the new kingdom, they're going to serve us. They cannot serve beside us. They have a place. We're going to treat them fair, but they're going to still be our servants. They're not going to lead us nowhere. And they ain't going to have nothing. We're going to have all the wealth and riches. They're going to just be a part of our kingdom and be glad they didn't get destroyed in judgment. So don't be all upset about what these people talking about, because we may not see them give us nothing, but it's going to be given to us. And you may not never see them give an apology, and they may not ever give you one because judgment may take them out. But the judgment is an apology enough, because once the Most High comes and does judgment, they won't be here to torment you. And what they've stolen, whether it's land or resources, it will be available. When he avenges all the bloodshed, they won't be here. They'll be gone. You will have a clean planet. Everything will be new again. So don't even be upset about whatever they say. It's on the record. The Most High hears it. He's seeing it. He reading it just like we are and thinking, oh my God, these people are horrible. They're never going to change. Yeah. He sees the same thing that we see, which is why they're going to have to go. So get that in your spirit. Moreover, such a move could embolden other nations to make similar demands for historical injustices. Okay, well, if you've been unjust, you've been so low down and dirty raw. You got to worry about multiple people coming to you for stuff that you done. Okay, you need to pay. You need to pay up. But they don't want to do that. Opening the floodgates to countless claims that Britain or any country with a colonial past could never realistically meet. We don't care if you could realistically meet it. Be slaves. Do yourself like you do other nations. Rather than fostering goodwill, reparations could instead deepen diplomatic divides. Ain't no diplomatic divides, because ain't nobody claiming diplomacy but y'all. Everybody else was minding their business till they came. The only reason people have to deal with them is because they have the military might to insert themselves into everything, be everywhere, all kinds of ways. And even if it's not with the military, it's with religion. So you can't escape them. They come with a Bible, they come with a gun, but they're coming, or a shovel, or a earth mover. At a time when Britain faces pressing domestic issues ranging from economic recovery to social inequality, diverting resources toward reparations is both imprudent and unnecessary. Oh, everything is just not necessary when it comes to us. The focus should be on tackling contemporary injustices. So forget about the past, worry about now. Improving education, which not going to work because they're giving us a whitewashed education that's beneficial to the white supremacist system. Don't ever benefit people who were enslaved. And fostering economic development in affected regions rather than attempting to retroactively correct historical wrongs. That's not going to work. It's just not going to work because they don't want to correct historical wrongs, and they still want to come and colonize in Africa. So to me, it's just like it don't really make no sense. So here's another article that came out on the 11th. So it says labor reparations role lays bare before Britain the real issue with Keir Starmer's party. So the Labour Party has a problem, particularly on its front bench, which is becoming plain for us to see. So Britain doesn't owe a penny in reparations, but David Lammy seems determined to hand over the keys to the treasury. If reports are to be believed, then David Lammy, the Foreign Secretary, is once again proving that Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party's priority isn't the British people, it's appeasing foreign interests, virtue signaling to deliver elite and chipping away at Britain's sovereignty. I don't know. I just know that a push for reparations is being made, and you should pay attention to it because there is a lot of stuff going on. Okay, so the next story is this one. President Mahama urges collective action on reparations at 38th AU, or that's the African Union Summit. So it says President John Dramani Mahama has called for collective action to achieve justice for Africans and people of African through reparations. Speaking at the launch of the African Union's 2025 theme during the 38th Ordinary Session of the AU Assembly in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, on Saturday, President Mahama stressed the need for stronger legal and institutional mechanisms at national, regional, and international levels to ensure reparatory justice. Quote, we continue to advocate for stronger and legal institutional mechanisms to ensure that justice for the historical trauma inflicted on global Africa is not a conversation but a reality, end quote, he said. The AU has dedicated 2025 to addressing historical injustices and their lingering consequences under the theme Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations. This initiative aligns with AU's Agenda 2063 vision of an integrated, peaceful, and prosperous Africa. It aims to mobilize political will, foster partnerships, engage stakeholders, raise awareness, encourage dialogue, and end the culture of silence and denial surrounding racism and colonialism. President Mahama noted that the Accra Reparations Conference in November 2023 reaffirmed the urgent need for comprehensive reparatory justice, strengthening advocacy and policy frameworks. He stressed that achieving justice requires collaboration among European states, regional economic communities, the global African diaspora, civil society organizations, academia, and the private sector, and international partners. President Mahama highlighted that uh, devastating effects of the transatlantic slave trade, colonialism, apartheid, genocide, and neo-colonial exploitation, which have led to economic disparities, social inequality, systemic discrimination, and racial prejudices. Describing the transatlantic slave trade as one of the history's most heinous crimes, he noted that it lasted nearly 400 years and forcibly displaced more than 12.5 million Africans. He further cited that an estimated 2 million Africans perished during the Middle Passage alone. Quote, the economic impact of colonialism on Africa has been profound, with the continent losing trillions of dollars in both human and material resources due to colonial exploitation, end quote, President Mahama stated. He emphasized that descendants of enslaved Africans continue to suffer economic and social disparities, adding that mere acknowledgement of these injustices is not enough. Decisive action is required. Quote, we must continue to advocate for stronger legal and institutional mechanisms at the national, regional, and international levels to ensure that justice for the historical trauma inflicted on global Africa is not just a reality, he reiterated. President Mahama reaffirmed Ghana's support for the reparations agenda, urging collective efforts to build a future that is fair, just, and equitable for all Africans and people of African descent. So that's the end of that article. So those were the articles that I wanted to share with y'all. But I want y'all to understand that there are conversations being had around the planet about reparations. Now, it's a lot of nations need to pay reparations to us, like Saudi Arabia, the Arabs. Yes, yes. A lot of nations. Spain. So, I don't know. This is how I feel. I feel like these Western nations got their backs up against the wall, and since America and the EU breaking up, I got a feeling EU gonna backdoor somebody and tell we the people and mess up America, and then they're gonna have to pay reparations, and they're gonna pay the little reparations because guess what? It's in their best to do so because they ain't dealing with America no more. So then America is just gonna be left out to dry. America not gonna pay the reparations, and they're just gonna do whatever they want to do until the end. So I would not be surprised if there is some sort of offer to give us reparations so we can leave and leave here because these white folks don't want us here. They think they're gonna be able to live here forever. And I just think the Most High gonna allow them to do just to hang themselves, to seal the deal and seal their fates. So I don't know. I feel like with all these discussions about reparations, and then you got Congressman Ayanna Presley trying to put forth HR Bill 40 again, which was nothing more than a study to about reparations when they don't have to study nothing else for nobody else. So anyway, the fact that she's doing that now, and a lot of the states have been already planning on doing reparations. I think Tulsa was planning on doing something, but it was just along the line of housing. It was never going to make whole the people who lost their businesses and stuff when they burned the town down. So just keep an eye out on what's going on in the Caribbean, here in America, and with the UK and on the continent as far as reparations is concerned, because there's a lot of talk, and I don't think it's by accident. I feel like something is coming. Watch out for this blood moon come, I think it's March the 14th. But it's just a lot of stuff happening. The planets are supposed to align tomorrow, and it's just a really weird time to be alive. But it's a beautiful time to be alive because we're getting ready to see all sorts of miracles and things that we thought were impossible and that would never happen. They are happening. So, anyway, y'all keep prepping, keep praying, keep seeking the Most High, obey those laws, statutes, and commandments. Repent for your sins daily, sins of commission and sins of omission. Um, Follow me, subscribe to the channel. Links for all the stories will be in the description. All right, y'all. I'm Marley K. Keep your head up and keep your noses clean. It's an ugly time right now, very dangerous, but just know it got to be coming to an end because I don't think we could take too much more. All right, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.